Welcome back, friends. Today, Andy sits down with Ian Salyer of Disaster Restoration Services, a company specializing in water, fire, and mold damage restoration. In this episode, Ian explains some facts about mold and smoke damage, shares some interesting wildlife stories, and gives his top 5 tips for homeowners. Stay tuned.
Hello, I am here with Ian Salyer, or I'm going to call him the Slayer, because that is really what you are for DRS.
I try.
Yeah, well, you've done a great job. Unfortunately, I have to say, I know and have utilized more than people realize out there with the services, but thank goodness for reputable companies such as DRS to be around in our valley. And just want to be able to share with everyone some facts, some myths, because some people get a little freaked out about when they hear the term mold.
A smidge.
A smidge. Okay, for everyone who gets a little concerned about mold, a little fun fact from what I've heard, that about 80% of homes have or had mold.
Or more.
Or more?
Yeah.
Okay, give or take the plus or minus sign by maybe 10% or more. But it is a serious subject. However, it also is something that we want to let everyone know it can get remediated.
Yes.
And taken care of, but it needs to be done properly.
Correct.
That's the key, right? Okay. So, Ian, thank you for coming. First of all, I say DRS, that's the name of the company, but explain the acronym of DRS and the services you provide.
Yeah, it stands for Disaster Restoration Services. We do water, fire, mold, sewage. We do odor jobs too, as well. So all of those are included.
Wow, odor jobs. Okay.
Cigarette smoke, smokers,
Yeah.
which we don't have as much as we used to. But yeah, I mean.
Including pets?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely, if it's in the carpet and stuff like that, it could be cleaned or replaced or whatever.
Okay. Well, all right. I need to add that to my list. I have had that taken care of before, now that you say that. Okay. We're going to hear a few stories. We all have some stories, but even more importantly, how to be proactive, because that's the key. And, over here in Colorado and Vail, we're not immune to any of the natural causes of wildfire, floods for different reasons, fires, but obviously we all want to avoid those as much as possible. So let's start with mold.
Everybody's favorite.
Yeah, everyone's favorite. So explain a little bit about mold, because there is also mold when there's testing done outside. You test for the air quality outside and the inside. There's different variants of the mold, and explain a little bit of that for everyone to understand.
Well, the easiest way to test for mold is to do an air sample, because mold spores will fly. So you do some inside in suspect areas, then you'll do some outside so that you get a comparative. So when we're trying to pass a PRV, which is a post-remediation verification or mold clearance for layman's terms, you want an outside, and we try to get the inside under containment to equal to or less than outside, sample results. That way we know that your doors are opening, your windows are opening, so mold's coming in and out all the time. And this way we can, there's something to have it based on. Mold's everywhere. We're always breathing it and dealing with it as human beings. So we just try to get it to that equal to or less than outside results.
Yeah, great. And again, it just needs to be remediated in the proper way. You don't want to have, I have had clients that have had their handyman and people that are not really understanding how to properly remediate the mold and the proper way to have that pass the test.
Well, so we will come in and we'll set containment. We want to contain the area that's affected. Sometimes it's a search and destroy mission, like you have to find it. Mold needs water and organic material to start growing, and then a spore of the mold there so that it can start growing. And then you're just trying to find that, get it remediated with some antimicrobial and some other industry specific solutions. We have HEPA scrubbers running while we're doing this, so the area is under containment. That way anything we're dusting up, quote unquote, will get ran through the HEPA scrubber and filtered out of the air. And then they'll come back in after we're complete, after we've wiped everything down and done that process to do the testing, the final testing.
Yeah, and that's important because the airborne aspect of it, because it can get, the dry spores can get airborne. That's why you use those filters. And
Correct.
And even if it's, you don't have a current like wet area, it was previous areas that you can't even see that may have the mold. So that's why it's important when doing any inspections, or if you have had a recent flood, or even I've had a leaky dishwasher of a client of mine that years later, it wound up growing unbeknownst to the seller, and it went underneath the wood. And as you said, you have to find where the containment is, pull up the boards, get it contained over there, and find where the source is, fix the source. Even if it's fixed and it's dry, that doesn't mean that it's okay.
Well, that's when mold propagates. It's when it gets dry, the spores, any sort of wind or anything will dust them up, quote unquote, and then they'll fly and then land somewhere else. And then once water's added, they can start growing from there.
Yeah. You had a great point that you made at a recent project, that the tiles. I mean, something as simple as tiles as a preventative maintenance. A lot of homes in the bathroom have the wide grout.
Grout lines, yeah.
And how often should we be sealing that?
I'm not a tile guy, but I know once or twice a year, is if I remember correctly, because I've asked a couple of times, and I know that's something you just don't think about.
Yeah, you don't.
With resealing your grout and things of that nature. Grout is porous, so once that seal is gone, then the water can soak into that material. And, we're taking a shower, so soil, dust, human cells, and all that kind of stuff getting into or sitting on top of a surface with the water, if we don't use our exhaust fans to, evacuate that really warm, damp air out of the bathroom. And if it just stays there for long periods of time, that gives that mold time to...
Yeah. These are the conversations that we have, believe it or not. The exhaust fan in the bathroom, so that's important for those to be anything contained with moisture.
Yeah.
Attics.
Yeah. You got to have your ventilation in your attic space. You want some sort of... You're either going to have a passive with the spinny mushroom, vents on the attics. Out here, usually you have soffit vents with a ridge vent. And if you have one or the other and don't have both, you're not going to get that ventilation, that buildup of cold air coming in and the hot air going out.
And that's a great point, because we were having that conversation about a lot of people getting new roofs in our area. Again, it's about having a reputable company coming in, properly installing the roof with that in mind about venting. I did actually have that happen on a previous client that we were under contract, and my buyer was purchasing a home, and it was great that there was a new roof, and thank goodness the inspector caught that the proper venting wasn't there, and that would have, and it actually did start building up of the moisture and a little bit of mold, but we caught it and enough time before it really became a big problem, had that then remediated and then repaired, adding those proper vents. And there are a ton of new roofs coming. So if you have a new roof, you want to make sure that you don't want to have all that money spent on the new roof and then down the road you have a buildup of condensation and mold.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's just to keep the air inside the attic to comparable to the outside, so you don't get that condensation built up on the bottom of the decking. And usually you're going to see that on the north side of the roof slope because it doesn't get the sunshine that the south side gets. So most attics I see that have a mold issue, It's always on the north-facing slope. The sunshine will bake the south side, even in the winter, and it drives the moisture out, and then the north side just kind of takes it in.
Okay, I did not know that. The little tip of the day there. Okay.
You know, building codes change, so things have changed. You know, vaulted ceilings are big around here, and flat roofs, which are always interesting in Colorado.
We actually have quite a few flat roofs here. Here, yeah, in the neighborhood I live in, there's an area with a lot of flat roofs. So it's really making sure that you're on top of it and being proactive. Mold, again, it's not a scary thing. If you have it, you just want to catch it earlier than later and be proactive.
I mean, if you have a ladder and you want to stick your head up in your attic every once in a while with the, a couple times a year, I wouldn't say that's a bad idea.
I do that. Not me, but I have someone do that.
Good for you.
Okay, and so speaking of that, because I, in fact, for my own house, I loved my Instant Pot, the Instapot hot water, and I noticed that there was this just started. I mean, as soon as it happened, a slow drip, and we caught it, turned off the whole system. Okay, I loved it, but to me, that really made me concerned about, okay, what if I weren't at home and I didn't catch that? Because then turns out I've heard other people with ice makers, with Instapot, that, is it Instahot? I think it's Instahot. Instapot is what you cook in. I have that too, but it's the Instahot, sorry. So anything that has water coming out, it's another thing, a tip with the ice makers, if you're not in-house, because we have a lot of second homeowners.
I would turn my water off while you're not in town.
Yeah.
Especially up here.
Yeah.
And especially in the winter, but anytime.
Yeah.
You're not going to be somewhere for a few weeks, or if you're going for 2 weeks, or, any sort of time frame. For me, I would turn the water off and turn your lowest sink off so it kind of drains down your system.
So turn the water off?
Your main water off.
The main water off.
Mm-hmm. Unless you got like baseboard heat, but that's usually a separate system.
Okay, so turning off the main, so if you're gone. I have had people turning off the ice makers, because ice makers, that one has been an issue quite a bit.
You mean you can always just turn your sinks. Your dishwasher usually has an angle stop under the sink. You could turn off that. Your ice maker usually is the same place.
Yeah.
And you could just turn those valves off underneath your sink if you're going to be gone for an extended period of time. Even 3 days,
Yeah. But that's always when it happens, right?
Right when you walk out the door.
Yeah. No, for sure. Okay, that's a great tip as well. All right, let's jump over to fire. But before we ask you about the fire aspect of things, give us a little background of how you even got into this line of business.
Well, it's my house burnt when I was in 8th grade, so that was pretty interesting on a Sunday morning. And it really didn't hit me until I was up here. Like, I'd been in the industry for a few years that actually, when I was doing a fire, I was taking stuff to the ozone room, and our whole house went to the ozone room, so all the furniture and stuff. But that was an interesting time. A buddy played baseball in Aurora, so I came out from college and had always vacationed here as a kid, loved it, and so came out in like 96 probably and played summer ball, went back to college and ended back up out here and just stayed like everybody else that came out here and never left. My buddy's brother worked for a home builder in Denver, and it was in this line, and my buddy wanted nothing to do with construction, and I always never had an issue with it. And I was like, hey, can I call your brother about that job? And he said, yeah. So got it to the home builder, and then it just kind of worked from there.
Yeah, but that's interesting. It's, having to deal firsthand with a fire when you were...
Yeah, I was sleepwalking. It was pretty interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure.
You were sleepwalking when the fire happened?
Yeah, after it happened, like the next few months, so...
Traumatic.
Called my grandpa at like 2 a.m. one time and just went out in the front yard one night at like 3 a.m. and was just standing there. But anyway, now now I do fires, so mitigate them and all that good stuff. So yeah, it's been an interesting kind of a niche industry. So
Yeah, it definitely is a niche industry. So share with the fire aspect. I don't know if you have a couple stories of just some examples or some things that are important for people to really think about to avoid. Again, this is to be proactive about anything, whether it's water or fires.
I mean, you're just making sure your smoke alarms are always up to date. I think they do have an expiration date on them, so replacing them based on that time frame. It's always just staying on top of everything that we've put into the building codes and stuff. Our fire started in the attic. Some animals chewed the covering off of the electrical wires, and so the wires arced, and that's what started our insulation on fire. So sometimes you don't even see it. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, but that's a great point because we do have the wildlife here. We've had, there's nests. Okay, personally, I've had even one of our cars, a pack rat went into a car and it started the car on fire with the nest. Yeah. So I do know of someone that had a pack rat in their house. Actually, they had two of them, but they were more in a remote area. And he, thank goodness, was at the house when he discovered it. He was out of town, came back, and I mean, it built up a nest that quickly. And I mean, I can imagine the fire hazard, right? That could even.
Well, that reminds me of another story. Raccoons are prevalent up here too. So I've been involved in a few raccoon jobs. They'll get into like your dormers, or they'll find a hole. And it's warm insulation. They can they'll make themselves right at home.
Yeah.
So animals do.
They
like
burrow
the the drywall is warm, so they can they just move the insulation, make a little nest, and there they go.
Okay, so I have had another home that had that happen within the drywall, and then going back to your odor control.
Yeah.
Because the decaying animal. So if that happens, are you able to take care of that type of odor? And obviously you got to go into the drywall.
You've got to get
to the source.
Get the source out. With like smoke, like a fire, sometimes we do smoke odor mitigation based on somebody just we had a fire in Bachelor Gulch, and it didn't ever get to flame, but it smoked the house. So it caused a lot of smoke damage that can be mitigated. But smoke it gets in all the cracks and crevices. It heats up the house. The house will kind of expand a little bit, and then it gets into the cracks. And then when the house cools back down, I mean, it's really interesting how that happens. But plus, with animals, on the other hand, there is something there that smells. I have multiple stories on that, but where they've just 2 or 3 feet of straw and dead animals inside of a wall cavity. So when you get that smell, you're trying to figure out and get to the source. But the only way to get to it is to either go from the exterior of the house or the interior.
But you can take care of that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So
you're just trying to find it is the hardest part. Like you can hear them running across the ceiling sometimes late at night. So
you may need a dog. Can the dog?
Or a cat.
Yeah, the cat, right, on the mice. But I know I have had that where it's always when they're decaying when you find it. But it all is,
everything is fixable.
Yeah, everything's
fixable.
I did have a family of skunk live in my house.
We had a family of skunks under the grew up in a mobile home, so my dad crawled under there to get the skunks out, and he had a tomato bath, because he got sprayed. So
is that true? That tomato
bath? Yeah, tomato juice bath. I
did have a family of skunk in my old house under the garage, and the babies would all practice spraying in the garage, which is right next to my kitchen. I have a lot of animal stories for me.
Yeah.
I've had bats fall on me in bed.
Wow.
Sorry, we didn't get off track. Can you help
I've
with
done
that?
bat jobs, raccoon jobs.
Oh, you can do that?
Yeah, I mean it's a biohazard situation, so it's like you're toilet overflows or you have a sewage backup in the floor drain, the animal needs to be dealt with in whatever way that is. And then we can come in and, we can clean, vacuum, treat the affected areas. If they've urinated a lot of feces on the drywall, it's probably better just take it out and get it replaced. But the framing can be treated just like with mold, antimicrobial and other industry solutions we can use to get that taken care of.
Yeah, and that's a great point too, because I know from experience, you all have also helped with the rebuilding of, you have other contractors within you that you've taken it apart, you've gone in, you've remediated the areas you need to, then someone's got to put it back together. Do you provide and have access to those resources?
Yeah, absolutely. We can do rebuild as well.
Yeah.
So as a homeowner, you've got to look at things, inspect things. Your house is going to deteriorate over time, just like us. But 5 things I would tell homeowners to do on a quarterly or yearly basis is check underneath all your sinks. You're looking for puddles of water or if you can see water damage under there. Number 2 is stick your head in your crawl space. Again, you're looking for the same thing. Puddles of water, you're looking for patches of mold on your wood, things of that nature. It doesn't have to be a long thing. Stick your head in your attic. Kind of the same thing. You're looking for animals possibly. You're looking for any sort of condensation on one side of the roof. Number 4, you really need to seal your grout. You get a hold of a tile guy. Seal it once or twice a year. That's really going to help prevent the water from penetrating the grout. And then number 5, I would go around all your toilets, any sort of water you have. Again, you're looking behind there for your warped wood, your baseboard has separated from the wall a little bit, or puddles of water, same thing. One important thing that would be above all those tips is to know where your water shutoff is. And if you don't, call the plumber, have them come let you know where that's at, so at least you have that. And if you do have a water loss, you can go do that, turn that off, shuts off water to the house.
All the pitfalls of how you can avoid them is the key here, and do not be afraid, because all of this can be remediated. It's just being proactive as much as you can. I just want to make sure everyone is comfortable knowing that, if you hear on a testing about any type of mold, or if you have odors, anything, it's not that uncommon. So it can be resolved. Just get the right people in, competent, and you can further enjoy your home. It's not something to just push under or sweep under the rug. You want to take care of it. And if you're a seller that is wanting to sell, you need to always disclose, and just, understand that if, like most homes, I've had one, just small little drip, you take care of it right away, properly mitigate, and just know that, it's not an uncommon occurrence in the mountains.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we do inspections as well. I know you'll have a home inspector come and do that, which is definitely the first step. And then if they turn something up, I'm always willing to come out and do an inspection as well to see with the home inspection. I can kind of get an idea what might need to happen.
He does. He crawls in all the spaces and climbs. I can tell you that firsthand.
Yep, we do that for sure.
Yeah, and we thank you for that. We really do over here. It's great that we're a small community, that we really can rely on great, competent resources and companies such as DRS.
Well, we appreciate it, and always thankful for that, and do anything we can to help.
Appreciate it, the Salyer. Thanks again.
Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely. Anytime.